Hey, welcome back. Today is day 2 of the Tinker Camp. What we're going to be working on today is building on the skills that we got yesterday. So we're going to continue to work with variables to get better with Tinker. And today we're going to do some things with drawing. It's kind of one of the skills that we worry about. Now, whenever I say, hey, the skill for today is drawing, people are like, hey, that's not coding. But it is, right? So coding, creating apps, creating projects, there's a lot of design. It merges really well with art and music. And so today, one of the main things we're doing is working on our drawing. We're still going to write code too. So here's the game that we're going to make. So we're going to make a game. It's called Treasure Island. You can title it whatever you want. But the idea of Treasure Island is that your boat chases your mouse, and you're trying to successfully get to the treasure. If you succeed, it'll say you win, but then it'll say, let's go faster, right? And then what we're doing is if you watch the variable in the corner, see where it says speed 20 up there? Watch what happens if I win again. It says speed 40. And so our speed, which is our variable, gets faster each time. And then if you do hit an island, it'll say you wrecked your ship, and that'll be the game over. And what we're going to do is we're going to make this together. You wrecked your ship. And then your challenge for today, if you would like a challenge, is to build the same concept. So you're going to build another game, which also has this like your actor follows your ship. Here it is, the ship again. And here he's trying to get home. So you made it home. And then of course it says, let's go faster. So I think that's the idea. And then if you wreck it, it does that. So that's what we're trying to build today. We're going to work on drawing, variables, and doing more code. So go ahead and go to your projects and click on Create New Project. And of course, what we want is a blank block coding project. So I always click on block coding and go down here. Now, if you were to click blank project up here, I think it's the exact same as blank block coding project. But I'm going to go ahead and say blank block coding project, just because that is definitely what we're making. So the first thing we want to do, we've kind of got ourselves set up here. We, if you remember, don't need a monster in this one. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to delete my monster. So I'm going to click on these little 3 dots over here and say delete. And it'll say, do you sure you want to delete actor? Because he is an actor and his name is actor. So I'm going to delete him. And then what I want to do instead is I want to have a pirate ship. So I'm going to click on add actor. Whenever you're adding an actor, you could just draw the actor if you wanted. You could do these special character builders, like our monster had these special features. But normally what we do is we just go to the media library. So go ahead and click on media library. And then what we're doing is we're looking for the pirate ship is the one that I'm after. You could use a different one, but make sure it's some type of like vessel that moves, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for ship in the search bar. And I'm going to see what comes up. So you can pick a different thing if you'd like. You could use an alien ship in the water or a spaceship if you'd like. But I think that one of these ships, like the pirate ship, this pirate ship, the Viking boat, or the trading ship, are going to fit best thematically for my game. So I'm going to go ahead and just click on pirate ship. So what that does is that adds an actor to your game, right? So we've got an actor over here. His name is Pirate Ship. I think that's a fine name. No need to change that name. And he got plopped onto our stage. Now, to be honest, he came onto our stage quite big. If you remember mine, compared to my stage, the pirate ship was actually very small. That way I could kind of like make an intricate island maze for him to get through. So I'm going to take my pirate ship, and I'm going to make him quite a bit smaller. And then I'm going to go ahead and just kind of move him up to a corner. So games like this, you could really do in about any order. You could write code for the pirate ship first. You could draw your background first. It really doesn't matter. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to write just a little bit of code because I've already kind of started my pirate ship. And then after that, I'm going to go do some drawing. And drawing is going to be kind of the interesting things that really bring this together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my pirate ship here. You can see that I'm adding code for the pirate ship because I've got his little icon. And I'm just going to go and write a little code for him. Typically in games, you have an on start And so on start is code that runs whenever you start this game. And what I'm going to choose to do here is I'm going to be a little like controlling. I'm going to add a go to block just to make sure my pirate starts in the correct spot. Now this go to block isn't strictly necessary because obviously he's going to start somewhere and I don't need it. But I want to make sure he starts in the upper left corner here for me. If you want to use a different corner, that's totally fine. Now I will say that right now, my pirate ship, if I kind of hover my mouse over him, he's sitting at a certain location. So I've got to kind of keep my mouse there so you can see it. But see those numbers that are down here? My pirate ship right now is at the location X equals negative 641, Y equals 305. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a sheet of paper. So pause the video and go get a sheet of paper. It's nice to have a sheet of paper so that you can write down some numbers, right? So I'm going to get a sheet of paper and I'm going to write those numbers down on the sheet of paper. So for me, it's negative 641, Y 305. So now I've got that written down. So now if I move my cursor and they go away, it doesn't matter. And I want to put them into my code. So I type negative 614. And then you can actually hit tab if you want, 305. And so whatever numbers you found, so you put your cursor up on the ship and you found some numbers. If I do it again, they're slightly different, right? You wrote them on your sheet of paper. We're going to be using the sheet of paper quite a bit today. And then you moved your mouse and you typed them in. And the reason we wrote them down is because we have to move our mouse to go type them in, and then we can't see them anymore. If you want to just memorize two numbers, I'm sure you could, but a sheet of paper is going to be handy a lot today. So now, even if our pirate ship was somewhere different, if I start the game, he's going to go to that spot. So it's a guaranteed way that he'll start in that spot. I'm going to just kind of move him up in that area anyway. And the next thing I want to do is I want my pirate ship to run code forever and ever where he follows the mouse. Now, if you have a really good memory, you might be able to do this based on what we did last time. But of course, I'm going to do it with you. So the first thing I want to do is I want to drag out a forever chunk. I went through this a little faster. I didn't say, but it's in the control area and then the forever chunk. The goal of these apps is that as you do more and more, you start to get more and more comfortable, and you can actually start to do some things more on your own as you get better. And then I want him to point towards the mouse pointer and then go 10 steps. So point towards is a type of motion. So I'm going to go into the motion area. And then in the motion area, I'm going to look for point towards mouse pointer. Now, the one people always grab is this one, go to mouse pointer. That is not point towards mouse pointer. So I'm going to just kind of put that on there just so you can see it. But the command I want is point towards mouse pointer. And the difference is point towards doesn't move him. He just kind of aims him at it, right? That way he'll take some number of steps based on the speed and not just warp there instantly. So go to is bad. I'm going to get rid of that. The next thing I want to do is I want to move 10 steps. So move 10 steps is the very first of the move commands. And I'm going to say move 10 pixels. And one thing that you do whenever you're coding is you stop and you try it, right? So we have plenty of code here to try it. So let's go ahead and run our code. And we'll see if he follows our mouse. This was a good test because I forgot something important. So as I move it, he basically just stays with my mouse no matter what. I have a bug in my code. I didn't do it on purpose. I forgot to add something, right? And the thing I forgot to add is speed is a function of how far you move and how long you take to do it. And right now, he's moving 10 pixels, but there's no time delay, right? So his speed is infinitely fast. So I needed a time delay. I just forgot. I've been using Scratch too much, and at Scratch you don't need it. So I need a small time delay. So go to Control. Inside Control, add a wait. So you have to scroll down until you find it. It was actually really near the bottom. So if you go all the way to the bottom, you'll find this wait 1 second. And you can drop it into the bottom of your code. Now 1 second is too slow, right? If I run this now, he's gonna just be crawling, right? So every 1 second he moves 10 pixels. I don't know about you, but I think that's way too slow. So let's make the time be smaller. A number that I use a lot is 0.05. That's 5/100ths of a second. And so basically that makes your game be at what's called 20 frames per second. I'm not worried about the frames per second math, but he's going to move 10 pixels every 5/100th of a second. And now this is a more reasonable speed, right? So now he's moving and everything is going fine. If he gets to the mouse pointer, he does kind of freak out. There are ways that we could fix that, but I'm not worried about it. I'm going to call that a feature. And the next thing I want to do is I want to reinforce what we've done with variables. So instead of moving 10 pixels, I want to make a variable. So the variable that we're going to make is called speed. So to make a variable, we've done this before, but obviously we need to practice things. It's in the variables area. Inside the variables area, near the top, I was kind of scrolled down there, I want to create a variable. Now, whenever you create a variable, it's that orange button that I clicked on. Whenever you create a variable, it asks you a couple questions. The questions that it asks you is it asks you, what do you want to name your variable? This variable is going to be for the speed. And then there's this question of, do I want it for all actors or do I want it for just this actor? Last time, if you remember, we said all actors. And that was because it controlled the speed of the monster. I guess it was food then. But the cupcakes changed it. So both people used it. Now it's just going to be the ship that uses it. So you can actually just say, for this actor only, which was the default for me. So now I go ahead and click on Create. Now at this point, I have a variable. It's in my computer. It's there. But I can't see the value. So what I like to do is I'm going to add a text watcher. If you remember how to add a text watcher, you click on the variable over here. I think the text watchers are kind of sneaky because it doesn't show you the button until you click on it, right? So it's kind of like hidden until you click on it. And then we click on Add Watcher. So that adds a small watcher onto my screen. Now, if you remember last time, there was a bug that we had to change in the code. That's because it was a global. That bug won't exist this time. So we can actually just hit play, and we should see the value of speed, which I forgot to set again, right? Every time I seem to forget to set the speed. So last time, just to share, we had to change something in here. I don't think that's necessary this time, but we do still need to set the speed. Making lots of good errors today. That's just how it goes. So I'm going to, as the first thing in my code, I'm going to grab this set and I'm going to drop it right after on start. I did that kind of fast. I'm just going to kind of show it one more time. So inside variables, I do set and I drop it into my code right there. That is one nice thing about block languages. You can always just look at my finished product. And right now it doesn't know what variable to set, so I'm going to click on the drop down and say speed.
We have a question.
All right, so hold on, got a question. So I'm gonna pause it here. I've got my campers with me again today. I didn't even say that. All right, so what's your question?
Our code does not look like your code. How do we get it back?
Oh yeah, so I've got you've got code like this. So the problem is, and you did a great job of following along, is that I did something quickly that I didn't mention to you. Right now, you're changing the code for the speed watcher, but I'm changing the code for my hero. So this is currently in the wrong spot. So Bowen, you're going to have to take something out.
Take the set out.
So to take something out, click on the little handle on the far right and trash that. And now switch over to the Sleepy Dragon. And now grab a set for the Sleepy Dragon and put it up here. Now, Bowen, your code and my code look to be a lot better. Does that make sense, Bowen? Great job. You good?
Yes.
All right. All right, so let's keep going. So speed. My goal with speed is that I'm going to start speed at a low number. You could start it at 10 or you could start it at 15, somewhere in that ballpark, just depending on what you feel is best. And then what we're going to do, I'm going to do my little test first. So I set it to 10, and what I want to do is I want to see if my text watcher is working. So I'm just going to run it really quick just to see if my text watcher is working. And it is working, right? So there was no bug today. So what should happen is you should see your variable up on your stage. By the way, if you ever want your stage to be bigger, you can just click on this little tab at the top and you can just see the stage quite quickly there. Now, we've made a variable. We can see the value of the variable, but we're not using it anywhere and we're not changing it anywhere. We're going to change it later. Let's go ahead and use it for now. So take speed. So this is your speed variable. Drag speed into move speed pixels. And so now what's going to happen is your ship is going to move based on that variable. So just to kind of test it, let's say you put your speed at 50. So the speed of 50 should be quite a bit faster. And you hit play, then you're kind of zipping around with the speed of 50. And of course, if your speed was slower, let's say I tried 2, that would make my ship move quite a bit slower. So you can see that this variable is being used, but right now it's not changing. And then when you're done with that test, put it back to an in-between value. Now, if you did that, great. It's fun to see code changes, but you could also have just watched mine and been just fine. So I think our ship is actually doing pretty well. I think the biggest problem that we have now is that our ship is sailing in complete whiteness, right? It's not a very good island. So I'm going to go ahead and save it. So to save it, right here it says Untitled at the top. I'm going to save it as Treasure Island. You can save it as anything you want. After I do that, I'm going to click on the Save button. You certainly don't need to add a description, and you will publish it later, but for now I'm just going to click Save, right? So this is the week 1, day 2 demo. And adults, feel free to do some of the typing with them unless you want that to be a skill that people are learning. All right, so I'm ready to add a stage. Now, last time when we added a backdrop for the stage, we just used an image. So I put in a kitchen and it was just like, boom, there. This time, if you kind of glance at my finished product, this time what's going to happen is we're going to draw it. So we're going to have to fill in the water with a blue color, and we're going to have to draw different islands. Now, one thing to think about as you draw your islands is think about the size of your ship. Now, you have to make a game where your ship can get through your obstacles where it's possible, but it's also, potentially kind of fun and challenging, right? So don't make it too easy and don't make it too hard. And this is where the creativity aspect comes in. I also like to add little challenges in mine, like where somebody thinks they might be able to shoot it through the middle. I can't believe I just did that. I make it through the middle 1 in 10 times, right? And then, it's a fun, challenging game. So that's kind of the idea. So let's go start drawing. So click on the stage. You'll notice that the stage has no code, and there's no backdrop yet. So the only thing you can click on the stage is this gear. So go ahead and click on this little gear. And what we want to do is, and it says, hey, the stage can have costumes, sounds, and advanced things. We want costumes, and so we want to click on Add Background. So go ahead and click on Add Background. Now this screen we saw last time, this is actually trying to encourage you to select a different background. But what we want to do this time is we want to draw. So up here at the top, there's a little paintbrush. And so this is where we're going to draw image. So go ahead and click on Draw Image. And then for some reason you have to click it again. So you have to click on Draw Image again. Maybe if we came back in here, we would see something different. So now we are to the heart of today. So this is the drawing interface. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw some together to learn, and then we're going to delete it, and then we'll come back for the real thing. So this we're just kind of learning. So let's kind of learn more about what this setup is. So there's different like drawing tools over on the left, and then there's different colors on the bottom. So for this example, I don't care what color you pick, but pick some fun color that you'd like to just kind of test with. Does not have to be related to the ship. We're going to delete this here in a little bit. And what we're going to do is we're going to select the pencil. So the pencil is one of your main drawing tools. With the pencil, you can change how big it is, right? So go ahead and with the pencil, just kind of draw a little bit, and you can kind of see how drawing with the pencil works. Now, if somebody is a great artist, maybe they could draw something fun. I'm a lousy artist, right? So my art with a pencil would be not very good. But I do really like that Tinker and Scratch both really encourage and allow creativity in drawing. There was a recent post on Tinker where she draws a dog, and like she's just amazing. So look up Virtual Pet sometime on Tinker, and you'll see how good she is at drawing things, right? Other skills that we want to learn, so that's the pencil. There's also the brush. The brush is for adding like artistic effects. So you notice that the brush is similar to the pencil in that you can change size, but the brush has this like opacity meter. So this is where you can add like really elaborate shadings to your drawing and things like that. So we don't need the brush today, but I wanted to point out the brush. The eraser tool is fairly self-explanatory. It erases, right? So you can erase things. The fill, the paint bucket, this one's interesting. This one will let you fill in any closed shape. So let's say that I clicked on my paint bucket, I clicked on this yellow, and then I click inside my circle. And you'll notice that it fills it all in. Now the thing you have to be careful about with fill is that it does have to be like a closed shape. So for example, let's say that I put my mouse right here and I click right here. Bowen, what do you think is going to happen if I click right here with yellow?
It's just going to do the whole entire screen.
Yeah, it's just going to do the whole entire screen. So if I click there, it just does the whole entire screen yellow. And that's because fill has to be a closed shape, and you'll notice that this one is very much open. So when we're drawing islands today, I just kind of wanted to reinforce this. If you draw an island like this, it's going to work perfectly. If you draw an island like that, it's going to work very badly, right? So if I fill that one in, oops, I need to go to my fill. If I fill this one in, it works great. If I fill this island in, it works very badly. So just kind of be aware that that's how the fill tool works. The stamp tool is fun. It's just for adding a little like decorations to your thing. Usually when you stamp something, it's not for functionality. It's just for fun, right? And so if you ever want to decorate your art, you can do some stamps. You can go crazy with these things, right? These other tools we're not going to use as much today, but I thought I'd point them out. So there's a line tool. Do notice that line also has this thing called opacity. So I'm just going to kind of mention that. There's squares. There's all kinds of things you can do, right? The other thing is text. Text is fun because you can decide what font you want to use. So if I wanted to say David Fisher, I can do it in a cool font. Now, I'm going to point out something tricky because you guys are good. Let's say what's tricky about the drawing tool? Well, one thing that's tricky is I just typed this, and if I just typed it and I drag it, I can move it to say right there. Now, as soon as I click off on it, what's happened is I've clicked off on it, and it's called a blit, is what it is, and it's been painted onto the background. I can no longer just grab it at this point, right? So that's how Tinker works. So if I just kind of do another example here, so this is a test. Whenever I make it, I can kind of move it around, but as soon as I let go of it, it's done. It's on there, right? So it got pasted in. And that same thing is true for rectangles. And I can grab it. I can actually resize it. But as soon as I let go of it, as soon as I click somewhere else, it's pasted onto the screen. It's called bitmap mode. If you're used to Scratch and you've used its vector mode, this does behave differently. Now let's warn you about one other thing. I've been making this game. I've been making this backdrop, and I happen to know that what I'm looking at on the screen is actually not the whole stage. And the reason I know that is because see these bars on the side? See how they don't fill the whole thing? Zoom out for me. So it turns out that my stage was actually bigger than what I was looking at, right? And that's just something you have to be careful of. So you have to be careful if you're drawing. So like I've done this mistake a couple times, but I start drawing and like I fill up the whole thing, and then I realize later that I was actually way zoomed in. Cool, so that is a beautiful backdrop. I'm pretty proud of it, but I want to start fresh. All right, so that is your opportunity to go nuts. If you need another second, draw like crazy. But now what we're gonna do is we're gonna work together to build something specific. So go nuts on this sheet as much as you want, but on the next one, let's try to actually achieve a mission, right? So I clicked on add a costume. It gives me a nice blank slate. Just because I feel like it, it's called blank one, but I'm gonna change the name to be Island. That is not necessary, I just felt like doing it. The next thing I wanna do is I wanna change my zoom level to try to like make sure I'm seeing everything, right? So if I change my zoom level to where I'm seeing everything, I feel like seeing everything. All right, so now we're trying to do something specific. So we're trying to make an ocean. So pick your favorite color of blue. So my favorite color of blue is I could pick just this one down here at the bottom. If you don't like that shade of blue, there's this color picker down here. I don't know if you've seen this yet, but for this color picker, I can pick any shade of blue that I would like. And then once you've got the color you want, you can hit the X. So now you've got the world's best shade of blue. And then you want to go to the paint bucket and you want to click anywhere. And what that should do is that should turn your whole world blue, right? So now you have a blue world. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start drawing the outline of islands. So to draw the outline of islands, we're going to use the most common tool, the pencil tool. The size can be either 14 or 20. Something near the top is fine. By the way, you can use the slider and you can get other values too. I'm just going to go ahead and draw with 20. That'll be fine. And now I need to pick the color for my islands. Now, for the coding reasons, your islands all have to be the same color because what the ship is doing is it's saying, hey, if I touch this color, then I'm doomed, right? So let's pick the color for your islands. I'm going to go with kind of like some type of green color, but if you want to use a different color, that's fine. Let's say you like purple islands. That's no big deal, right? If you wanted to, you could also like pick a very specific color inside the color picker. That'd be just fine. Maybe I'll go with kind of like a dark green island. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my islands. So here's where your creativity comes in. I'm going to choose to have kind of like one big island and then a couple other smaller islands. So you can see with the way I'm going to strategize my game, I'm going to make it to where you could, if you're risky, shoot through the shortcut. But then it's easier if you go around the long way. So I'm not going to give you an unlimited amount of time to do this, so you're probably going to have to pause the video. But you can draw shapes for ages, right? Kids love to draw, and if your first pass goes well, then super. If it goes badly, you can always do it again. So I'm going to draw some shapes just to kind of like make my game tricky. And what I'm trying to keep in mind is there some way my ship can like get through to the other side? And I think that I've kind of done that with my shapes. Once you've got a couple shapes, it's time to fill them in. To fill them in, you go to your paint bucket and you fill in your various shapes. And you can zoom in to try to like hit them better if you want, or whatever you need. Now you'll notice that for me, whenever I make a circle like this and then fill it in, I get kind of like this little outline. If that outline bugs you, that's fine. You can come back through with your pencil and you can get rid of that outline, right? So if you are not an OCD person, feel free just to leave it because it doesn't affect anything badly. It's just that it's there. So go ahead and pause the video and get your islands just right. Hey, my crew was drawing, and they occasionally wanted to like erase something and turn it back to blue. And a skill that they used a lot was this eyedropper tool. So if they ever needed to draw in blue again, you say eyedropper in blue, and then that lets you kind of have an opportunity to kind of like draw in your blue. So like I could, loop this out a little bit more. Or if they wanted to draw more in their island color, they could use the eyedropper to pick their island color, and then they could draw a little bit more in their island color. So that was a good skill for them. Now the next thing we want to do is we want to put another color on here, which is our victory color. And so this is like our goal, our target that we're trying to get to. And so let's go ahead and draw. I'll just go and use the pencil again. I'll use a big pencil. But pick a new color for your victory. So this is kind of like your gold, right? And so somewhere, just kind of like put a little patch that is your goal. So if the ship gets to here, then you're going to win. Now, interestingly, I picked a very different color, just so you could see it quite vividly. But it could be similar in color, just so long as it's different a little bit, right? So that's my goal. Now, if you would like to decorate, you can, with one caveat. You cannot use either of those two colors. So if you start like making stamps and things, if they're completely different colors, you can do that. I'm not going to do a lot of decoration, but I would like to add some text to my big island. And the text that I'm going to add is I'm going to add white text. So I click on color. So I'm going to click on white color here. And I'm going to click on text. And I'm going to pick the font that I think is best. Now I like Pacifico, right? So I use Pacifico a lot. And you can change what size your letters are going to come out. I'm gonna pick about a 60 or so. And now I'm going to click somewhere to type. Now you can type anywhere because you can still move it after you finish typing, but you only get to move it like one time, and then as soon as you let go, it's stuck on there. Just for giggles, I will make a mistake, right? So I'm gonna click up here. I'm going to say, Dave Fisher's Island. And so I want this to be moved into here, right? Now, if I did mess up, let's say I put it up here and then I let go of it. It's stuck there, right? By the way, it jumped a little bit. Another trick that you really should know about is the undo button, right? So you click on the undo button and that will make your life a lot easier. So I should have told you about that button a long time ago. So if you want to add text or something, you can. So there I'm going to add Dave Fisher's Island. And then once you're happy with that, we can click on save and we can go back to the other one. So I've got, actually before we go back, let's do one more thing. Let's write down some stuff onto our sheet of paper. So our code needs to know what colors we used. So we're going to need that in our code. So what I want to do is I want to know exactly what shade of green is that. Exactly what shade of pink is that. So here's what I'm going to do to figure that out. I'm going to click on the eyedropper. So follow along with me, even if you're doing something different. Click on the eyedropper. Click on your death color. So click on one of your islands. And then click on this like color selector. I know it's like 18 steps, right? And then click on hex. So the number you need, is this hex color right here. So on your sheet of paper, write down your hex color. Don't worry, you'll see the whole process again when I do it for the next one. I also hate the font that they used because there are some numbers and some letters. Just so you know how it works, the letters, if it's a letter, is going to be A through F. And the numbers are, of course, 0 through 9. So mine here is 65803B. So there's an A and a B in there. I know that's super annoying. So hold on, let's go through that process again. So you click on the eyedropper. You click on the thing that you want to discover. Then you click on the color chooser. And then you click on hex. By the way, Scratch makes this way easier, but oh well, that's how Tinker works.
So now I'm going to write down the color of my victory. Oh, that one I maybe could have memorized. Kind of looks like the word food, except for those O's or zeros. Yeah, O's and zeros are never a question. You know that it's a number. You know that it's a zero because the letters can only be A through F, right? So this one is FF00D5. So yeah, it's like a 4-step process. So you click on color chooser, or sorry, eyedropper, then the color chooser, and then hex. And that's the number that your code's going to need. So I've written down both of mine, and then I'm going to put a little annotation next to them for which one is green and which one is pink for me, right? By the way, if you happen to really know about colors and like colors and want to learn about hexadecimals, this number is meaningful, but that's not, not what we're up to today. Cool. So once you've got your colors written down, you're done with the drawing part of today. That's the main part of today, and you can go back to your game. Now, when I click back, it looks like I've still got the two drawings that I made in here. You can see I'm kind of switching in the backdrop. I want the one that's the islands, right? So make sure that you've got the island set up. Now, if you're having problems getting your island one set up, you could always add code to explicitly set it. So you could say switch background to, but mine looks like it's working fine, so I'm not going to add any code. All right, let's finish this game. So let's go to our pirate ship. So right now, if you play your game, you can sail right through your islands. It doesn't really matter, right? So that's just how this game works. You can sail right over here and touch your treasure, but nothing happens there either. The reason I'm doing this is because this is a way to test. Did you do a good job with your game, right? Can you go through your various obstacles? To be honest, if anything, mine's almost too easy, right? So I can fit right through there. So you can tweak things like that to your heart's content, but I'm not going to make time to do that. I'm going to call mine good enough so that we can all move forward, right? So now let's have the pirate ship check. Am I touching the island? And if so, I lose, right? Or am I touching the goal? And if so, I win. So a check is an if statement. So an if statement is in control. And so we're going to add an if statement for am I touching the island? And then because we know that this code is coming, I'm going to go ahead and add another if statement that's going to be am I touching victory, right? So it's either have I died or have I won? And if neither of those things are happening, then we just keep playing, right? So I drug over the if, it says false then, but if something, then do this. All right, so we want to put into these condition statements. So if this condition, then do this. Am I touching a certain color? And so the one that says touching color and sensing is right here. It's the fourth one down. So drop one of these in here, and then drop one of these in there. Now we've got two colors. We've got one color which is death, and the other color which is victory. What I'm going to do is I'm going to type into this top one my death color, right? So you type in your color, and I'll type in mine. And it's going to be some combination of numbers and letters. Now the nice thing is when you finish, you should get feedback that you did good because it should change to be the color that matches the stage. So I'm going to do that for my other one as well. Make sure you leave that little hash on there, right? So FF00. So don't worry about my colors. You worry about your colors, right? So there I should have typed in both of my colors, and I'm done with my sheet of paper now, right? So now in my code, I'm checking, did I lose? Did I win? And then I'm going to do stuff in those two situations. So if you touch the island, then you've just died. And so what we want to do is we want to say something along those lines. So I like speech bubbles. Again, there's these speech bubbles that are really intimidating, that have lots of features, and then there's the really simple ones. I would like to use a simple one. That would be great. But I need features, right? So I'm going to pick the very top speech bubble. So right now it says say hello, and then for 2 seconds. So instead of saying hello, this is where they've just wrecked their ship, right? So I'm going to say, you wrecked yo ship. So you can say whatever you'd like to say. So once you get yours typed, you might have to pause the video. But once you get yours typed, you can then pick the style. So the style, by default, is a bottom message. A bottom message like takes over this whole bottom bar. I think I would rather it felt like the ship was saying it. And so I'm going to put it on a rectangular like speech bubble. But if you like the bottom one, that's fine. But I'm going to go with a rectangular speech bubble. And in a speech bubble, I happen to know that 18 is really small, so I'm going to bump it up to 48. So I'm just going to say, you wrecked your ship. And then, I'll tell you what, I'll go ahead and play it right now just so you can see a problem that's going to come up. If you wrecked your ship, it's going to say, you wrecked your ship. And then the game's going to keep playing, and it's going to say that every 2 seconds as you like continue to wreck your ship. Now, what I would rather do is I would rather just have the game stop. So maybe you remember how to make the game stop. So to make the game just stop, that's over in control. And the very, very, very bottom command in the control is stop all. Now again, stop all is a dangerous command. And you want to put it in just the right spot. So you'll notice it's in this advanced area. Because if you put it in the wrong spot, it goes very badly, right? And so it should be fine because I've got it inside of my if statement. So I'm going to only stop all if I say you wrecked your ship and then stop all. If you put it anywhere else, it's going to just be a disaster, right? So that's losing. And you could test that if you wanted. So now if you hit the island, it says you wrecked your ship for 2 seconds. Maybe I'll bump it up a little bit. Maybe I'll say it for, oops, that was not the right place to bump it up. Maybe I'll bump it up to 5 seconds or something. That's loss, right? Let's do win. So when you win, we're going to start off by doing the same thing. We're going to start off by saying a message. So we're going to say, oh, I can barely fit it down in there. So we're going to say, instead of hello, I'm going to say, you win. And I choose to make it seem like the ship is saying it. So I'm going to have it say it with a rectangular speech bubble. And the font size of 18 for a regular speech bubble is too small. I'm going to go with 48 again. Now, this is a bit harder to test in your game. So really, the only good way to test it is to either actually win your game or come up with a clever way to cheat, right? Now, a clever way to cheat would be to change that X and Y, so there it says you win, right? To change that X and Y that you started at, and then you could cheat, and you can get to your victory much faster. But it looks like mine is working fine. Interestingly enough, the game doesn't stop. So when you win, you just keep winning until eventually you hit the island behind it, right? So you win. Now, we're not going to stop. If you remember what the other game did, when you win, it doubles your speed. And then you say, let's play again, right? So here's what we want to do. We want to put the ship back to the starting spot. We want to say, let's go faster. And then we want to modify our variable. So that's our goal. Let's go ahead and start doing some of those things. So what I want to do is I want to go back to the starting spot. Now I've got those numbers written down. And I could type a line of code that's exactly like this. But we can actually do one better. We can copy this line of code down below. So click on the little black handle that's on the right side of this. And I want to copy this line of code. So I'm going to hit Control-C. That'll copy it. And then Control-V. And it's Command-C and Command-V if you're on a Mac. So now I've got a duplicate of that line. And now this line, I want to put down near the bottom, right? So I'm going to say you win. And they're going to enjoy their victory for 2 seconds. Then I'm going to snap them back to the beginning. And then I'm going to say, let's go faster. Let's go faster. Now this one, just to show it, I had made as a bottom message box in my example. And what the heck, I'll just leave it as a bottom message box. Or you can change it to a speech bubble. That doesn't matter, right? Now when it's a bottom message box, a font size of 18 is actually fine. So I'm gonna just leave the default. So the only thing I did is I changed the text and then I left it as a bottom message box just so you could see it. And I left the font, so that's fine. Now, our code right now does some of the things we want. It resets the ship to the start. It says, let's go faster, but it doesn't actually go faster yet. Bowen, how would we go faster? Do you have any ideas for how do you go faster in this game? Do you have any ideas? Keegan, do you have any ideas for how we go faster? Sissy? Oh. Yeah, we could change speed, right? So let's go into variables. Sissy, is that what you were going to say?
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to change speed. Now, there's a couple ways to modify speed. We could use change. That would be one way to do it. We could change it by like 10 or something like that. If you wanted to do that, you could, but I'm going to show you something different. So last time we showed you change. This time we're going to set it in an interesting way. So go ahead and grab a set. And what we're going to do is we're going to set speed. And what we want to do is we want to set it to double what it was before. So speed is equal to whatever speed was before times 2. Now you may notice that in variables there's no like multiplication symbol in here. That's because multiplication and things like that are over in the operators area. And what I want to do is I want to find the operator for multiplication. It's the third one down. It's that itty bitty star. I know it's hard to see. And what we're going to do is we're going to set speed to the result of some multiplication problem. Now, 0 times 0 is not a very good multiplication problem. Instead, what I want to do is I want to set it to whatever the speed was before. So that's over in variables. So I drag a speed over and put it right here. Speed times 2. So you can read this line of code, and it's readable. Set speed to speed times 2. So every time your speed is going to double. So folks, I think we might have a finished game here. So we are ready to try this. We can lose and we can win, and we're ready to give this thing a go. So let's go ahead and try our game. So I'm going to try an intentional loss first. It says you wrecked your ship, and then the game just ends, right? So nothing else happens. And now I'm going to try to win one, right? So to win mine, I've kind of got two paths. I've got the shortcut path. So there I have a shortcut path. And you'll notice my speed is currently 10. And then it says, let's go faster. And so now I'm going at 20. Now the reason we're doubling is because eventually it's going to get too hard no matter how good you are, right? So my 20 is now at 40. And it does kind of start to freak out as it goes like super fast, right? All right, I'm going to try 80. I can do this. I can do this. Meow. Hey! Now 160 is hopeless, right? Yeah! Because it just goes crazy. And so I managed to make it up to 160, which is pretty good, right? And so you can challenge your adult and see if they can do better than you. So we're done with the coding. So now that I'm done with the coding, I'm going to click on this little down arrow, and I'm going to say publish to community. And publish to community, mine is ready to go. Now yours may not be ready to go. You may have, a lot of people do this, you may have discovered that your island was impossible to solve, or you may have discovered it was too easy to solve. And your job is to make it fun, right? Oops, I clicked on a back arrow. I didn't mean to do that. Your job is to make it fun. So you're going to have to tweak your island. So you should understand the concepts now. So you're going to have to tweak your island, maybe resize your ship, all kinds of things that you can do. So that's the goal. Now, every day, I want to see how my campers are doing around the table. Campers, are you ready for me to see your projects, or do you want me to give you a second?
I think we're ready, right?
Are you ready? All right, so I'm going to go around the table, and I'm going to see how my campers did, just so we kind of get some idea of their things. So Keegan is up first. So Keegan chose to use a spaceship, and now he's sailing around his island. Now Keegan, what he's done to make his island possible is he's made his spaceship a little smaller. That's a very clever thing to do. So there you lose. Let's go and see you win one, Keegan. I'll tell you what, just go. Yeah, he's got a shortcut in his game where he can just kind of go around the outside. Get down there and win, Keegan. Fine, I'm moving on to Bowen. If you'd like to win one for me, I can come back, bud. All right, Bowen has a cool island. Oh, Bowen's used lots of stamps. So go ahead and play it, Bo. All right, so he's got a sleepy dragon that's coming around. Oh, he caught that tip. That's a dangerous tip you got there, Bo. I consider that a feature, but you can always change things until you're happy with them, right? It's a dangerous game. Keegan's still doing good. All right, Bowen, great job. See if you can win your game. And then we've got McKinley over here. McKinley Marie. Looks like it's Marie's Island. I got quite the glare on there, sorry. Cool, looks like she's got a ship that's sailing around. And right now she's doing a speed of 10. It looks great. So campers, did you have fun with today's exercise?
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, if you want more, here's what we've done in the past. We have encouraged people to try to build one on your own from scratch that's the same coding concepts, but a different theme. So I'm not going to work this with you, but see if you would like another thing to do, see if you can make a very similar game with a different theme. So here I'm doing a space theme, right? So I used a spaceship and I drew planets, and I chose to use a little Earth image that I found. But it's still the same thing. If I touch one of these colors, I wreck. And if I touch the green that's in the home, I win. I also decorated this one with little alien men. All right, so that's all we've got for today. We hope you had fun with it. I think today's was a great example. It builds on yesterday, and it's going to build for what we do tomorrow. And we'll see you next time. Bye.